John Strang was armed and dangerous when he was pulled over by RCMP, but officers had no idea how armed. Luckily, he gave up peacefully. Because this is what officers pulled out of his Jeep: rifles, a shotgun, ammunition, and the high-caliber murder weapon. The RCMP is the top of the firearms food chain in Canada. Dig through its various reports and releases, and a partial picture begins to emerge of what's happening with guns in this country. For instance, you can find out how many licenses have been issued to buy guns, how many stolen firearms have been recovered, how the RCMP trace stolen guns. But there's a blind spot in this paperwork, a double-barreled blind spot with potentially catastrophic consequences for police and the public. It comes down to two questions: how many guns are out there, and who owns them? Turns out, no one knows. This was the view from the police plane of a Crescent in Saskatchewan on August 22nd, 2014.
Keep right in the back if you can. I don't know. What do you think?
A man is barricaded in the house, and he's shooting at the people who just left the home and police.
Shots firing in.
The residence has a firearm, and we're going to deal with them.
Ken Kane was one of the officers dodging bullets on the ground that day. He says it began as a routine domestic disturbance call.
They put the gun down and walk out, just like in Coppermine.
It was only luck that officers were alerted that the suspect was armed.
The call for service, luckily in that one, the complainant had told us that he was armed. And just as we were arriving, he began to fire. So in that case, we were fortunate enough to have that information prior to arrival. But if that hadn't happened and he was in the house armed and no one had told us that, we wouldn't know, because he wasn't in any kind of database indicating that he would have or had access to firearms. What the databases do tell us is that, as of last year, almost 1 in 10 people in Saskatchewan were legally licensed to have a gun. How do police find out who have these guns? By going to their front door.
171, there is no landline at that address.
Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.